Ciao, it's Enrico and welcome back to Brooklyn Cooking. We've been away for a while because it was a long tax season, but we're back now, and today we're going to start off with Risotto Milanese. We're going to do it a little different because we're going to try to give you a little history of the dishes from now on when we can, and we'll go from there. We're going to do the Risotto Milanese the old-fashioned way. We're going to use bone marrow and we're going to use beef broth. If you don't want to use the bone marrow, just eliminate it and you can go with chicken stock instead of beef stock. There's a few do's and don'ts of risotto, and we're going to try to stay with the do's and try to avoid the don'ts. There's three types of rices you could use. You could use risotto rice, you could use risotto rice, and you could use risotto rice. There's no other substitute. There's three different types. This is a boreal rice. This is probably in the United States, in New York, is what you're going to see most of the time. It's the most widely available here. They're all from northern Italy. This is made in the Po Valley. All right, this is cararoli rice. This is what they say is the Rolls Royce of rice for risotto. So it's a medium grain rice where a boreal is a short grain rice. They're both very good. But this one they say is a little harder to overcook, and it's really the prized rice of Italy. The next one, which is also very good, is the Veroni Nano. This is also made in northern Italy, up in the Po Valley and Vercelli sections of Italy. The word risotto is a derivative of Rizzo, which is Italian for rice, and that's how they got risotto. This is a rice that you don't just throw in a pot with some water like American rice. You have to cook the rice slowly, adding liquid a little bit of time. You want to get a very creamy texture out of it. Rice was first cultivated in Italy, in southern Italy, in the 14th century. That would be the 1300s, and then eventually it's made its way up north. And the other major ingredient of risotto, or at least risotto Milanese, is saffron. Saffron is, they say, the most expensive spice. It's basically 90% of the world's production is from Iran, but there's some, Italy, they make a decent amount in northern Italy. They say this could go up to $10,000 a pound, depending on the quality. It's sold by the gram here, so it's usually about $8, $9, $10 for a small little bottle, and it lasts pretty good. So it's not that expensive to use. Why is saffron so expensive? Because it comes from the saffron flower, and each flower produces about 3 threads of saffron. And I don't know, it takes maybe 10 million flowers to produce 1 pound of saffron. Well, maybe not 10 million, but a lot. It takes a couple of thousand to make a pound of saffron. How did saffron get in risotto? There was a glass blower way back in Italy. He worked for the Fabbrica del Duomo di Milano, and he used to use saffron as a pigment for the glass blowing. And then one day at a wedding, he decided to add some to rice, and voila, you had saffron being used in risotto. There was risotto recipes dating back to the 1800s, but the real inventor of risotto is still a mystery and unknown. So we're going to clear the table. We're going to use the cararoli rice today, and we'll get going. First thing we're going to do is get some saffron threads, I don't know, 10, 15 or whatever, and we're going to put, let it seep a little in the beef broth. We'll add a little more as we're cooking. All right, now we're going to go to the bone marrow. These are bone marrow bones. The marrow's in there. I started getting, you got to basically just dig it out. Here we have the last one. Okay, I got all the bone marrow out. We're going to chop this up a little more. We're going to fry this up first. We have our onions. You want to dice, it's a medium-sized onion. You want to dice it up pretty small. You want it to be about the same size as the rice. And what's left of these bones, don't dump them. They're make some homemade beef stock, and these are still good. Don't dump those. Those are gold. Or give it to the doggy who wants them, but my wife won't let me do that. All right, so got the butter out. We're going to use butter instead of olive oil, and we'll get cooking. All right, first thing we're going to do is we're going to add the bone marrow. It's going to cook down really quick. Okay, that's looking good. Now we're going to add our butter. We have 2 to 3 ounces of butter. This is unsweetened butter. For this dish, you really want a big, flat bottom, high-sided pan. You have to give the risotto room. So, and first things first, we'll add the onion. We have, medium-sized onion. And we'll cook that down. I say you want the onion fairly small. Cup. Always will season your onion with a little salt. So this is going to take a couple of minutes. When it's nice and soft, we'll continue. We don't have to go too far because it's still going to cook plenty in the once we start adding the rice, and we don't want to burn. Now we're going to kick up the heat a little bit because we have to toast the rice. Like I said, one of the no-nos is you don't rinse this rice. Rinsing this rice is a big no-no. So we're going to kick this up. This is the carnaroli rice, and we have 2 cups here, and we're going to add it. And we have to toast this. That's why you want the big pan. Want to toast this up a little bit. Even turn it a little brown. If you ever see a piece of marrow in there, that's fine. Other people reserve some of the marrow and add it as a dressing on the risotto. We're not going to do that. This is after 3 or 4 minutes. I'm not really timing it. You want to make sure it's well coated, get a little color to the rice. This is looking pretty good. Now the next step, very important, comes the white wine. So we have about half a cup of white wine. Now it's very important that all the wine evaporates before you go on. You really want that wine to evaporate, get into the rice. You should have smell-o-vision. That smells so good. This looks pretty good. Now we're going to start adding the broth a little bit at a time. Maybe a ladle or 2 at a time. You can see maybe, let's try not to make a mess. Right now I got about 8, we got 2 cups of rice and we got about 8 cups of broth. I don't think we'll need it all. Probably need about 6 cups or so. Okay, now we're at about, when we start this is about a 18 to 20 minute process. As the broth starts evaporating, we'll add more broth. You can see the saffron in those. And we stir. Instead of adding the saffron directly to the broth, you could also do it this way because it's going to cook a lot. it's gonna cook a while. So like in my Cousin Vinny where grits took 20 minutes, this is gonna take 20 minutes. Okay, pretty much absorbed what we added so far, so time for another addition. And rather than bore you with watching us cook this for 20 minutes, we're going to cut away for a while, come back towards the end, and we'll just, as it dries out, we're going to add more broth. And we'll come back to finish it off when we get to the end. All right, we've been about 20 minutes. See how yellow the rice got? That's from the saffron. We didn't use all the broth because I had extra just in case. And it's always good, give it a taste for done this. All right, it was pretty good. Little bite to it, but not raw, the way you want it to be. Now we're going to start finishing it off. You know, there's always a saying, you can never have too much butter. We just add a little butter to the end, cream it up a little bit. And the final touch is the Parmesan Reggiano. You know, I like Romano, but this is a dish you need the Parmesan Reggiano. I like them both, don't get me wrong. So there's about an ounce here. There's about a cup. I don't think we need all that. Maybe a half a cup would be good. You always add more at the table. Now this is something you want to eat right away. This is not a rice dish to put in the refrigerator and eat tomorrow. You can. Actually, they'll make very good rice balls. But this is something you want to eat when you cook it. Okay, so we'll plate up and we'll be done. It's plated up. You can see it's nice and creamy. We're going to add a little more Parmesan cheese to the top. Risotto is normally served in a flat plate, not in a bowl, so it spreads out. We'll give it a taste. Very good, nice and creamy. You could taste that beef broth in there and the beef marrow. If you like this video, hit the like button and subscribe to our station. And arrivederci from Brooklyn Cooking, and be back soon.